Good evening. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners or custodians of this land we meet tonight, and their elders past, present, and future. And of course, to thank you for a very warm welcome, Uncle Alan. With the lights, I cannot see where he is, but thank you. That was very, very nice. I've had the pleasure to being welcomed by Uncle Alan before. We also have a long list of important guests this evening. Too long to mention them all, but I would like to highlight a keynote speaker that will join us shortly, Nadol Nyon, our speaker, Nashwan Yusuf, Jenny Leong, State Member for Newton, Darcy Byrne, Mayor of Inner West Council, Dorothy Hodinott, Wendy Waller, Mayor of Liverpool, and also convey the apologies of our chair, who's unfortunately sick and not able to join us tonight. But we got many other board members that are here tonight, so it's a pleasure to have them with us. And I'd also like to give a very special thanks and welcome to our gold, silver, and bronze sponsors, whose generous contribution made tonight possible. So, dear friends, colleagues, supporters, and distinguished guests, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to our 10th anniversary Refugee Ball. Because yes, it's been 10 years of these wonderful nights where we get to spend a bit of time in a more relaxed atmosphere with all of you. Our friends, our supporters, our colleagues. Some of you have been very frequent attendees, and it's great to see you again. But there's always some new people, and it's great to welcome you tonight. It is wonderful to have you all here. Having you here as a captive audience, for a few minutes at least, also gives me the chance to thank you for your support. And not just for tonight, but your support for the last 10 years with the Ball and the last 30 years with the STARS and with the work that STARS does. It's a work that counts on the support of friends, of colleagues, on people that work on our organizations, on the community leaders, on people that have been our clients and continue to be our friends and supporters. And we couldn't do our work without you. It also gives me the chance to thank the dedicated group of people, staff and volunteers, and a mixture of both in some cases, that have successively participated in the development of the concept of the Refugee Ball and its execution since the tentative beginnings in 2009. You've been fantastic, and you continue to be fantastic. So thank you. Yes, I'll give you my viva applause. And talking about fantastic people and things, 2018 is not just the 10th anniversary of the Ball and the 30th anniversary of the STARS, of course, but also the 20th anniversary of Refugee Transitions. STARS Magazine, a world-class publication that has done a terrific job over the years of bringing to print unique perspectives on the situations that disrupt people's lives to the point of them becoming refugees, but also privileged perspectives on their journey to build a life after torture. The number of people to thank and acknowledge in the context of refugee transitions is absolutely enormous. But throughout these 20 years, the one constant source of leadership and inspiration for this publication has been my good friend, Olga Yoldi, editor extraordinaire for Refugee Transitions, who is here tonight, of course. So thank you, Olga. This brings me to the theme of this 10th Refugee Ball and our fundraising efforts tonight. Australia often struggles with its treatment of asylum seekers, as is now more evident than ever with the shameful situation of children and their families stuck in Nauru for far, far too long, and similar situations that we've seen in PNG. Australian shortcomings in this area overshadow the fact that Australia has one of the best resettlement programs in the world, one that is unique in its recognition of the crucial and pivotal role treatment and rehabilitation services play in ensuring that survivors are able to have a life after torture, a life with dignity, with joy, with the chance and the possibility to contribute and be a part of society. Unfortunately, This recognition is sorely lacking in much of the world. And this is sadly something that, with my hat as president of the IRCT, I've seen a lot of lately. While the global number of forcibly displaced people continues to increase, nearly 70 million and counting as we speak, a substantial number of whom are torture and trauma survivors, the sources of funding for services like STARTS in much of the developing world have dried up. There are many and complex reasons for this. A trend towards more inward-looking nationalistic governments, the influence of world leaders like Trump in polarizing societies, and unfortunately not just him, but many more apathy in many places, etc., etc. The reality, however, is that there are many people around the world who, having survived horrific experiences, need assistance now to be able to have a life after torture. People like us, but with much worse luck. People that need services from centers that can no longer provide them through lack of resources. They cannot wait for changes in geopolitics that might take ages to happen. Many torture and trauma centers around the world will close if alternative funding sources are not found. The global fundraising campaign that we are piloting in Australia and that we had the pleasure to kick off last year at this very ball and in this very place is a way to do that now. If we can make it work in Australia, we can export the model to other places in the world and begin a movement that can complement other funding sources, a movement that can ensure that life after torture can happen, even in places where governments refuse to fund or actually oppose the existence of torture and trauma services. This is why, for the first time in 10 years, we've decided to channel tonight's fundraising efforts largely overseas. The beneficiaries might be further away, but so are all refugees until they reach our shores. This also means that tonight's efforts is not just about money. We need your support in sharing the campaign with others, in becoming personal, digital, and social media champions for it. I'm very conscious that I'm talking to a very selected group of people who I would be safe to guess already share my message on the importance of taking action to address this issue. You are the 1% of the population that really gets the importance of providing specialized treatment and support to torture and trauma survivors so they can have a life after torture. You are the 1% that is prepared to take action by doing things like coming to this ball and bringing others along. By being here tonight, you're already our champions. So with your support, I'm sure that we can show the rest of the world that civic society cares, even in situations where governments don't, that it can be done in Australia, and if it can be done in Australia, it can also be emulated elsewhere. With your support, we have a great chance to ignite a global campaign through a model that similarly inspired people in other countries can try to emulate, and through your example, hopefully inspire them to try to do it even better. And what a great chance we have to start this right now, while having great fun by making this ball absolutely unforgettable. We have much in store for you to stimulate your taste buds, your brain, your heart, your souls, and hopefully to also make your body move to the sound of world-class musicians. Have a fantastic night. Thank you.